What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dollar Mike back at it again with another video. And any real investor in general, as well as any real investor that's here on the platform of YouTube, trust me, it's a lot of fakes out there, but any real investor will tell you that it's better to actually have time in the market versus trying to time the market when it comes to the stock market. So either way, in this video, if you guys couldn't tell by the title, we're going to be talking about my stock picks that I made for 2021 back in December of 2020. We're going to go over every single one of those picks that I made in that particular video. Did we make money from those picks from last year, or did we lose money from those picks from last year? And then we'll also go over some picks that I'll be making in the next year. And you can tell my niece in the background is just as excited as I am to talk about some stocks. We haven't talked about some stocks on the channel in a while now, but either way, we're definitely going to be talking about some going forward. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into this video. Let's go. If you're new around here, I make videos talking all about personal finance. That means saving your money, budgeting, credit cards, investing your money. Of course, it's all covered right here on Dollar Mike. So if you're interested, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the links down below, because the links down below will get you some free stuff. And let's get into it. So, was I right? We're going to find out in just a couple of seconds. But overall, I just want to mention to you guys that before I even jump in, all the stocks that I mentioned in the last year's video, I still 100% believe in every single one of them except for one, and only one, because they pretty much changed their overall business model. So before we even jump into any of these stocks, whether they're up or down on this year in particular, just want to put that out there, because this is a long-term game for me, as it should be a long-term game for you. If you want to go ahead and invest in the short term, you can do that as well, but obviously you guys already know it's more risk when it comes to doing stuff like that. Either way, let's talk about the first stock that I mentioned in that previous video from last year, and that first stock is Apple, and overall they were up 34% on the year this year. I honestly don't have too much to say when it comes to Apple stock. I've been investing in Apple stock since I've been investing into the stock market. They're one of the top technology companies in the world, and they've been doing this for a long time now. In fact, if you invested in Apple 5 years ago, you would be up over 500%. Apple pretty much beats the market every single year when it comes to the S&P 500. They're just a great company. They make great products. They have great marketing. They do great things. And overall, I like their products, and a lot of other people like their products as well. Like I said before, not too crazy on what else Apple does. I mean, we'll talk about this in a separate video, because you guys should already know it's Apple. It's a huge company regardless, whether you like them or not. But there you guys go. Apple was up 34% on the year, above the S&P 500, and of course that was one of my picks, and that's not anything crazy there. I feel like Apple is just a great company in general. It's also in my Forever Stocks video, so make sure you check that video out up there as well. But let's go on over to the second stock, which I do have a little bit more to say about. My second stock pick from last year was actually an ETF. This ETF is ticker symbol BETZ, that is known as Round Hill Sports Betting and iGaming ETF. When it comes to sports betting, online gambling, and casinos, this ETF is the one for you. This is pretty much why I invested into it, simply because I see sports betting is such a huge industry going forward. I want to be invested in it, and this was probably the safest way for me to go ahead and do that. I didn't know which stock to pick in particular. Was I supposed to pick DraftKings, Golden Nugget, which pretty much got bought out by DraftKings anyway, or some other stock? I wasn't sure, so I decided just to go ahead and buy an ETF for it, and that is ticker symbol BETZ. Of course, on the year, they are not up. They're actually down 6%, and personally, I have my reasons for that, and I'll also still be invested in them long term, and this is just a great time for me to buy even more. My investment into BETZ was pretty much yielding a positive return all year long, all the way up until November of this year, which of course we got new virus fears, we got more inflation fears as well. So I think all that played into the whole market taking a little bit of a downturn, even though sports are starting to ramp back up with the NFL and the playoffs and everything like that. And of course, if we look forward into the future, we have the NBA with March Madness and all that kind of good stuff. Regardless, even though that's all ramping back up, people aren't going to be betting as much money if they know they need to hold on to their money for the inflation fears, or possibly hold on to their money as well when it comes to a new virus potentially coming out and shutting everything down again. So if that's the case, then people probably wouldn't bet as much money when it comes to sports, and that's another reason why I think BETZ is down right now on the year about 6%, because overall, like I mentioned before, it was pretty much up the entire year, and it just took that dip in November of this year. But like I said before, this is just a great opportunity for me personally, because I'll be invested into this industry for a long time, at least for the next 5 to 10 years. So we'll see how things play out next year and going forward. But pretty solid on that. I still believe in them 100%, just letting you guys know. The next stock pick that I made last year that's on the list today is down 25% on the year. That's pretty bad, but it is what it is. That is ticker symbol TAN. That stands for Invesco Solar ETF. So yes, this is a solar ETF. Pretty much all those solar companies all put into one single ETF, so you don't have to invest in Solar Edge or whatever other solar company is out here on the market. You put all your money into TAN, and that pretty much covers you across the entire solar industry. Now, I didn't end up establishing a long-term position on TAN throughout this year. Overall, I still believed in it, and this kind of took me back kind of personally, because I was like, okay, I really do believe in this industry, the whole solar market, the solar stocks. I believed in it all, and with the whole Biden infrastructure plan and everything that went on with that passed through, I thought the solar industry would do really well this year, but that was not the case. So of course I was looking for a solution here of why this exactly happened, and overall what I came up with is the supply chain shortage. So on top of the supply chain shortage, people don't want to be invested in something that they might not understand or might not really know if it's going to make them money for sure. They'd rather put some money into something like Apple, where they know the company's pretty solid, they don't have too much debt, they'll do pretty well long term, versus putting their money into some brand new solar stock, some brand new energy stock that might do really well, might actually surpass Apple on the year to return, but you might have to take more risk. And I also just think the world isn't ready yet. With all these supply shortages going on, of course, all these solar panels and solar energy companies need a lot of supplies, and they're simply not going to reach that demand if they have no supply to show for it. If they can't go out and get the parts to make these solar panels and do whatever they need to do with all their other solar energy products that they need to make products for the consumer, of course, and it wouldn't work out because they wouldn't be able to meet demand. And that's pretty much what I think happened to the whole solar industry this year. So we'll see what's going to happen going forward over the next 5 years. I actually did just establish a position on TAN on my M1 Finance portfolio for the future, so we'll see how this plays out. Once again, this solar industry is something brand new as well to the market. People haven't been invested in solar energy and solar stocks for the long term, so we'll just have to wait and see as this goes on, as this move forward in life. But we'll see how everything plays out, and I'll be invested into it for the long term. I still believe in it for sure though. This next stock on the list was up over 19% this year, and I actually didn't invest into it. Either way, that stock is ticker symbol ABNB, and that stands for Airbnb. Airbnb actually IPO'd in the stock market late last year, and I'm actually personally a big fan of Airbnb, what they do. I've used the service multiple times, and I'll continue using the service in the future. But the problem with Airbnb is, honestly, there's really no problem. There's no problem with Airbnb, but I wanted to get Airbnb at a specific price. I wanted to get Airbnb at a share point price of $120 or less. It never actually dipped down to about $120 or less, so I never actually invested into Airbnb. Overall, do I see Airbnb as being great long term? Yeah, sure. I think the fees are getting a little higher as time goes on and whatnot for Airbnbs versus just staying at a hotel or something like that. But overall, I do see Airbnb for the long term. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail on any one of these companies, but yeah, Airbnb for the long term is great. I still believe in them. I simply just didn't get my position established because I couldn't get it at the price point I wanted to get it at. I didn't want to go ahead and chase the stock and overall end up losing money on it, so I decided just to stay out of that position as well. Either way, that's all I got to say for Airbnb. The next stock that I mentioned last year, and it's actually down 15% this year, is also one of my personal favorites. That stock is Disney. Disney's share price actually ran from lows of $85 a share all the way up to $200 a share during the pandemic. It is now sitting around $152 a share, and overall they are down that 15% on the year. But when you look at Disney as a company and how they make the majority of their money, most of their money is actually made from the Disney parks, and pretty much all the Disney parks were closed during the entire pandemic, and some of them are still closed now with them opening back up slowly. So to say that they made pretty much no money from their Disney parks and they collected no revenue from their Disney parks, yet their stock price goes insane over the past year, pretty much makes zero sense. And that's exactly where we stand with Disney right now. The parks, like I said before, are opening back up slowly. We'll see how this new variant or whatever goes on going forward, but pretty much Disney made no money from their Disney parks, and obviously their revenue was down because of it. So it made no business for Disney stock to actually go up and hit $200 a share as it did before it dropped back down to about $152 where it is right now. What should have happened simply didn't. Disney stock should have stayed around $100 a share, maybe around the $85 range, maybe even lower than that, because they weren't making as much revenue if we're basing it solely off of revenue. But of course, with Disney Plus, they should have made a decent amount of revenue back, which they did, but nothing to compare to how much money they were making from Disney parks. And that's simply put how it should have been. So Disney should have stayed around that price point. It simply didn't. It ran up, and I think this is just the correction that Disney actually needed. In the short term, I do think Disney would drop down even further, hopefully to around any type of range, to be completely honest, so I can buy some more. I don't really mind. I'll be invested in Disney for the long term. If you guys haven't seen my metaverse video, Disney is actually one of my stock picks for the metaverse for the long term, so I'll be invested in Disney for the long term and definitely be buying more on every single dip I can get on Disney. So there you guys go. Definitely check out that metaverse video if you haven't seen it. Definitely some solid stock picks in there, and those are some picks that I'm will be invested into for the long term, and I'll talk about them going forward in the future as well. The next stock that I mentioned last year in that previous video was ticker symbol AMD, and they're up 52% on the year. So I also didn't establish a solid position on AMD, but I did establish a solid position in ticker symbol SMH, which pretty much AMD is inside of it. Ticker symbol SMH is a semiconductor ETF, so it has stocks like AMD, Nvidia, TSM all put into one single ETF for you. So I invested in that on my N1 Finance portfolio instead of investing in solely AMD, and that's pretty much how it went for this year with AMD. The stock price of AMD barely moved in the year of 2020, but in 2021, man, did it blow up. And of course, with the supply shortages, the chip shortages, and we need all these computer chips to power all these different things, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of demand for these different types of companies like Nvidia and AMD, so it makes a lot of sense for the stock price to go up since the demand is high and the supply is pretty much low. Either way, long term, I still think AMD would do just fine, as well as every single other chip maker like Nvidia, like TSM, like Apple now, because they make their own chips, and we'll be just fine when that comes to that. As you guys may be aware, we use these computer chips in our daily lives with our cell phones, with our iPads, with our cars, with our home consoles, so we need these computer chips for pretty much everything we do now, and with everything being digitized anyway, going forward with the metaverse and everything else in the world, to be completely honest, this Apple Watch, we need all the computer chips to power it, and we're going to need them to be on their A game when it comes to it. So AMD is still a solid long-term investment, as well as any other chip maker, to be completely honest. But if you want to invest in the full chip market, then I highly suggest to go ahead and grab that ETF known as SMH, and that's what I did personally. Worked well for me. If I invested in AMD, I probably would have made I definitely would have made a higher return, but SMH was overall safer for me at the given time, and I didn't want to spread my money out that thin as well. So it is what it is, but honestly, a great pick either way you go. This next stock is actually one of the largest disappointments I've ever seen when it comes to me investing in a company, investing in my portfolio and whatnot, and that is under ticker symbol UAVS. It is down 67% on the year as of recording this video. UAVS pretty much it's pretty much a drone company. They make a whole bunch of different drones and whatnot, and they were overall rumored to actually be partnered with Amazon going forward in the future to pretty much make drones that would allow package delivery. So Amazon would partner with UAVS. They would make drones. Those drones would then deliver packages to your house and whatnot, and it'd be all said and done. The stock ran up quite a bit from the rumors of that, from being a penny stock to around $5 and then dropping back down to being penny stock again, all the way back up to about $15 in the month of February, where I sold a majority of my UAVS stock. So yes, you could have made money with UAVS. Definitely, I made a ton of money, and I actually sold at a pretty solid time. I sold most of my position around that double-digit range. I believe around $12. I can go back and double check that, but I believe I sold most of it around $12 and pretty much got out of my position at that point in time, because pretty much when I recommended the stock, it was sitting around $6. It ran up to $12, $14, $15. So pretty much you already doubled your money. I mean, who would not you doubled your money in pretty much less than a month. So honestly, I did pretty well in that particular trade, but I did want to be invested in them long term, but they were just dropping and they weren't popping out with any new news or anything like that, and I couldn't just go off of investing that much money on rumor, so I didn't take the risk. I pulled most of my money out over time. Overall, I didn't lose anything on this position, but if you bought this position at the beginning of the year and didn't sell it till just now, me making this video, then of course your loss will be pretty tremendous at about 67%. Overall, actually every single stock that I mentioned today in this particular video, you could have made money from if you sold at the right time, but I'm not here to try to teach you to sell at the right time. I don't recommend that you try to trade or do any of that stuff at the right time. I do like to have long-term investments, and like I said before, all these are still long-term investments for me, except for UAVS. This is a stock that I really don't believe in much of anymore, and that's because they pretty much moving away from that whole drone package delivery type of system. I honestly don't think the world is ready for that, and I think they can see that as well. Now, finally, the last stock that I mentioned in that last year's video is this ticker symbol known as TSLA, or Tesla. You guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a while now, I'm a huge fan of Tesla. I like the company. I like Elon Musk. I like pretty much everything the company stands for. I like everything they've done with the company, the amount of products that they already have out on the market right now, the amount of products they have in the future coming up for them. I'm a huge, big fan of Tesla. I'm continuously buying Tesla stock pretty much every single time there's a dip. I just recently bought some more around the $890 range. I think it just dropped to like $890. Yeah, it just dropped to like $899 like a couple of days ago, or about a month ago. So yeah, I've been invested in Tesla for a long time. I'll continue to invest in Tesla for the long term. Tesla did pretty well this year, up over 28% when you go look at the year to date. But overall, for my personal portfolio, I'm up over 85% with Tesla. Like I said before, great stock, great company, really love it. And going forward, this is actually going to be one of my key investments going into 2022. So I haven't made that video just yet for you guys, but I'm letting you guys know right now, Tesla, I'll be buying even more of, likely right now around this time period. I think it's sitting around $1,000 a share right now. I'm betting that it'll actually hit $2,000 a share next year. By the end of next year, we're gonna run with that bet. $2,000 a share by the end of next year. We'll see what Tesla stock can do. And I already bet a couple of my friends and won that bet that it would hit $1,000 a share yet again this year. So we'll see how things play out for Tesla. I'm a huge fan of Tesla. Definitely check out my Tesla videos, and we'll talk about Tesla more when I get into my overall stock picks for 2022. But I'm letting you guys know this is the number one pick for 2022. It's just that simple. So there you guys go. That was my stock picks for 2021. Was I right? Overall, I guess yes and no. So yes, if you decide to sell every single point, you could have made profits on every single one of those stocks. But long term, I'm looking at it, I was only really wrong in my personal opinion on one single stock, because that's the only one I really wouldn't invest into long term, and that was honestly on me. So overall, I got out of that position in full. I probably won't be investing in UAVS any longer, and that's about it. Everything else in the portfolio and everything else that I mentioned today is here to stay for a pretty long time. So I'm pretty excited to see what the future has to hold. This gives me a lot of buying opportunity with a couple of them, and some buying opportunity to actually get into, like Airbnb. Like, I still want Airbnb under that 120 point price point. We'll see if it ever happens, but if it doesn't, I simply won't be invested into them. Still love the company. It's all good there. But if you are interested in some of my high conviction plays going into 2022, before I make that other video talking about that, check out my metaverse video. It'll be linked right up there. That metaverse video will go over pretty much some pretty cool future stuff, some 10, 20-year time frames maybe on those. It could be a really long time before the metaverse really takes off, but I do believe in all those stocks I mentioned in that video, and I already invested in all of them on my M1 Finance portfolio. So definitely check that video out. Stay tuned. I'll have a lot more stock market content coming soon. Haven't really been into the stock market too much because it's been on a up and down trend every other day, but we'll talk about that when I make future videos on it, and they'll be coming very soon because the year's pretty much over. So thank you guys for watching. If you're excited, stay excited. Like the video. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more content like it. Check out the comments down below. Happy holidays, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. So take care of yourselves. I'm out. Stay safe. Dollar Mike. Peace.